for the day's market movements. Marcus Bogdan from Blackmore Capital joins us now live. Marcus, great to have you on this morning. Look, there's a lot of uncertainty out there at the moment, isn't there? The backdrop of the pandemic. I mean, US equity markets, a bit of a risk-off theme last night, but in general, how are you looking at our local market?
Good morning, Carly. Good to be here. I think when we look at the recent reporting season and the second half of that reporting season really indicated that there was growing concern of the impact of the lockdowns and what that was going to have, particularly from domestic corporates in terms of earnings visibility. And you just saw that with the announcement there from Endeavour, which is making guidance particularly difficult to forecast. And so we do see a slowing of the earnings growth that we've been experiencing going into 2022. And so that process will continue for at least another couple of months, and that will cloud and I think will lead to further downgrades in earnings revisions and will continue to put some pressure on the overall market.
And so does that mean that you're readjusting your portfolio at the moment?
Well, we were already fairly well holding the defensive companies, and I think it just underlines the importance. Companies such as Woolworths, which is actually doing reasonably well in the recent lockdowns, delivering sales revenue growth, but that tilt to those what we would classify as is defensive companies is absolutely paramount at the moment. But also, I mean, there is the competing force. We are seeing vaccination rates increasing substantially. And so we do also want to have an eye into the future of those companies which will be beneficiaries of a normalisation and economic activity.
Well, Marcus, I know you like healthcare. How are you positioned at the moment? What are the names that you've got in your portfolio?
Well, so healthcare is quite interesting because there are some defensive names there. Medibank has been a beneficiary of what we've seen in COVID and the emphasis that people are putting on healthcare. CSL is starting to see some recovery there in plasma volumes. We do expect to see another strong flu season there from their vaccination business. But then as we turn to companies which will be beneficiaries of a normalisation of activity, Ramsay Healthcare is the standout there, where we do see significant backlogs there, particularly in elective surgery in Australia and also in their international markets. And ultimately, those patients will need to be treated, and Ramsay is in a very good position to participate in that.
And Marcus, I understand Bega Cheese is an addition to the portfolio.
Yes, well, we haven't had Bega in the portfolio for 3 years, but we do think that the underlying business has been strengthened in that period through their acquisitions of branded food companies, of Mondelez, and then more recently through the Lion Dairy assets as well. So that push to more branded names in food and in dairy, we think will ultimately lead to higher returns and a higher valuation placed on Bega. There is significant synergies from that acquisition that are on track to be delivered. Bega has got a strong balance sheet now, and the valuation is undemanding, a price to book valuation of 1.2 times or an EBITDA multiple of around 8 times. And hence that they were the key reasons why we've put it into the portfolio.
Marcus, are you fully invested at the moment? How much cash have you got on the sidelines?
We've got about 7 or 8% in cash at the moment. So that does give us the flexibility if we do see some heightened volatility or some new names in the portfolio that we would like to put in. But, you know, conditions for investing, liquidity, interest rates remaining at rock bottom. And as long as we continue to get some earnings growth, I think that will be supportive of the markets. But also, you know, having that backdrop of having some cash there available if we do have a pullback in overall markets.
All right, sounds good. A bit of healthcare, a bit of Bega Cheese and a bit of cash on the sidelines. Marcus, always great to check in with you.
Thanks very much. Cheers.